So waiting on YouTube to catch up. There we go. Good Friday evening. How the heck is everybody? Welcome. It is December 17th. Hope everyone's had a good Friday. I was about to say it's the last Friday before Christmas, but that's not true. Christmas Eve is on a Friday. And speaking of Christmas, what do we got here? That's right. I haven't forgotten. It is time for the Star Wars Lego Christmas Advent. Now, some people have asked me, which is to say, nobody has asked me, if I'm going to be doing this next year. And the answer is no. I'm not going to. Everybody will have gotten to see it at this point. So, let's move on. Last time we had a Porg and we had the Jedi Counselor ship. What do we got this time? Let's see. So we got 15, 16, and 17 to cover today because we didn't do one on Tuesday. There's 15. Here's 16. What is 6? Oh, that's a nice one. And 17. I currently have no viewers on my stream. I could get naked and y'all wouldn't know. So we need to put away 13 and 14. 13 was the Jedi Counselor ship. And 14. Ouch. Oh my gosh, we need to do 14 too. We got a bunch to catch up on, guys. I didn't realize how far behind we were. Well, then where is the Porg? 13 was the Jedi Counselor ship. Was 12 the Porg? Must have been. "12, 12, 12. Where is 12? There it is. Yep, 12 is a Porg. All right, so here we go. So 14. Here, I'll flip over to the other camera. So whoops. Bent his legs backward. Very shaky, this one. 14 is a combat droid from Attack of the Clones. Or no, was it Attack of the Clones? It was the first one. The Phantom Menace, that's right. One watching just you. Yeah, probably, Jack. Probably. So there we go. And 15 is this cute little bugger right here. A pit droid. Day 16 is the Federation droid control ship. Again, Phantom Menace. So far we're all on Phantom Menace. I see what they're doing here. And finally, we have a pod racer. Not a Y-Wing fighter, as I had initially thought. We have a pod racer. And that is also from Phantom Menace. So there's our pieces. We are all caught up on the Star Wars Lego Christmas Advent calendar. So, let me just put those back in so that we are not quite so backlogged with them. How are you guys this evening? Doing well, I hope. And finally, there we go. Yep, Jack Photon, just one watching you. YouTube says I have 2 concurrent viewers. Hello, Chris. I guess that's the other one, right? My kitty, my wife's cat, rather, came in here. I almost said my kitty. I don't have a cat. I used to have a cat. He was pretty awesome. His name was Bootsy. Bootsy Collins. Because he had white boots on. Just happened to see your link in the feed and stopped by. Well, thank you for stopping by, Jack. It's always pleasant to see you. It's also nice that you don't type in all caps multi-paragraph. I do appreciate your comments on the videos, though. I really do. It's nice to have that level of engagement. And speaking of engagement, guys, this is kind of important. We have 827 subs now. That's right, 827 subscribers. And we all know what's going to happen when I reach 1,000. When I hit 1,000 subs, that's right. Make sure you guys get good audio off that. The Great Underground Online Gaming Convention, or Virtual Gaming Convention. The Great Underground Virtual Gaming Convention is a thing that's going to happen. Tell your friends, come over here, give us likes, click the bell icon for notification, watch the videos. When this baby hits 1,000 subs, you're going to see some serious, serious shit. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope you're there for it. But one thing's for sure, I'll never cancel you. I'll never tell you that you play D&D wrong. I'll never fire you from the hobby. I won't do it. Wizards is doing a lot of that lately. To follow up with what Wizards of the Coast is doing, because that's news. Kyle and I touched on this a little bit earlier in the week. But Wizards of the Coast has... Now, this is scary. This should frighten you. I don't care what edition of D&D you're a fan of. And I just want to let you guys know exactly how bad this has gotten. But Wizards of the Coast issued new errata. Now, if you buy into their whole, all my products are electronics, all of my products that I bought from them are electronic, and I keep them on DM's Guild. They edited your books. They edited your 5th edition books. They changed the content. They altered the game without your say-so. They didn't issue errata. They altered the game. They changed your property. So if you're a 5e fan and you buy into that Xanthagars and Xanthangum or whatever it's pronounced and Volo and all that stuff, all those books, all those monster books, all those campaign books, they censored them. They didn't give you an option to keep it the way you wanted. Your books, your property, what you paid for was changed by Wizards of the Coast. Now, I have said, hey, at least I've got 1E, and they can't do that to me, and they can't, but goddamn, they certainly tried, didn't they? They changed the rule books. They have stripped away the villain qualities of many, many, many monsters. Folks, you can like 5e from a rules perspective, and if you've got older 5e, like the original 5e books that can't even believe I'm saying that came out in 2015, 2016, and you like that, hold them close, hold them tight, clutch them to your chest, don't leave them unguarded at an official Wizards sanctioned get together, because they are out there editing and censoring everything they can get their hands on. and I've said this time and again, but it's coming soon. It's coming very soon. They're going to take away D&D Classics. It's going to go away. Trigger warnings won't satisfy them. There's a Reddit forum called D&D Next, and it was started up when 5th edition kind of became a thing. It was started up when 5th edition became a thing. And it has been kind of the go-to for 5e info and whatnot. 5e was an okay game. And it was embraced by a lot of people, including an entire subreddit. Now, Reddit is kind of cancer. Is that what the kids say today? They say something is cancer. Ooh, that's cancer. But yeah, when an entire subreddit, almost to a 1, stands up and says, wait a minute, why are you editing our books? We didn't give you permission to do that. That's not good. Who and what are you trying to appeal to? The loony bin on Reddit is standing up and saying, this is too much. You can't just edit the game like this. When that happens, they've got to know that something has gone wrong. Do they not understand at that point when even Reddit is coming after them? Now, first of all, the big discussion thread, the Reddit mods eventually locked it. Too much wrong think. All right? Too much wrong think. The mods had to step in and close the big Reddit threads about Wizards of the Coast censoring product on the fly in users' personal file caches. So they had to stop that. They had to shut down the big, huge Reddit thread. I recommend you go just like open more of them. Just open more. Keep creating aliases. Go to the D&D Next subreddit. Open up threads and demand to know what WotC's doing. And if the mods shut them down, open up a new one. And if they lock you out, creating a Reddit account without an email address is like that easy. And keep doing it and 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 doing it. But there's something that I've said, and I've said it time and again, and Kyle touched on this. If you look at an orc, a drawing of an orc, read the page, the stats about an orc, a painting of an orc miniature, any kind of representation of orcs, and your knee-jerk reaction is, we need to get that out of the game because that's racist. You are the racist. If you look at an evil race and say that's a substitute for a person of color, you are the racist. Not the person that wants to play Dungeons and Dragons. The person that wants to play Dungeons and Dragons, regardless of whether they play original D&D, basic D&D, companion expert, Immortals, cherry cough syrup, 2nd edition AD&D, 3rd, 3.5, Pathfinder, 4th edition, the people that play D&D, even 5th edition, we want to be left alone. Leave us the hell alone. Leave our hobby alone. Leave us alone. I'm going to issue a challenge right now, and it's going to go nowhere because I have like 2 viewers of my live streams. Okay? I do. I know where I am. I double dog dare anyone from Wizards of the Coast to get on this live stream and justify a single action that they have taken to edit other people's game properties. If you buy something, it is sacrosanct. It belongs to you. It belongs to you. I have a wall full of CDs in my other room. Compact discs. A few cassettes. A lot of vinyl. A bunch of DVDs. A lot of books. Do you know who they belong to? Me. Nobody gets to come in and cut out pages or tell me it's leased or tell me it's not my intellectual property. It belongs to me. And all the cowards out there who are willing to justify the vandalism of artwork. Because that's what it is. That's absolutely what it is. It is the vandalism of artwork because it doesn't meet your current sensibilities. The kind of person that ruined the Sistine Chapel by painting fig leaves on things. Try and justify that to me. You can't. Not you guys, not the viewers of this stream. Anybody who would take that standpoint, anybody who would stand up and try to defend it. You can't. It is an indefensible position. And the people over on Reddit and on EN World and on Twitter and on Facebook who think this is okay, you're the ones that should be fired from the hobby. My hobby never tried to censor people. You people brought censorship into Dungeons and Dragons. No matter how distasteful it was. No matter whether or not it worked with your campaign or didn't. If TSR thought it would sell, it got published. You people, the woke scolds on Twitter, the woke scolds in social media, the assholes who currently hold the Dungeons and Dragons IP at Wizards of the Coast. You're the enemy. And I look forward to you crashing and burning and taking the entire mess that you have created with you. Leave us alone. Leave D&D alone. Any version of Dungeons & Dragons. You didn't create a thing. Not a single person at Wizards of the Coast created a thing. You showed up in 2000 and you just started vandalizing shit. For what? That self-filleting human donut Ryan Dancy talks about. I was sent to Wizards with one job. Don't you? You saved Dungeons and Dragons, Ryan Dancy. Oh, you saved it all right. Makes me sick to my stomach. Gary Gygax might not have been a saint. Jim Ward and company might have moved too far to the center to try and keep the blue hairs off their back. Well, it's the purple hairs now, Jim. but at least they loved the game, and at least they trusted the players. You want to talk about monsters, Wizards of the Coast? I'll talk to you about monsters. Monsters and default assumptions of alignment. Wizards of the Coast, your default assumption of alignment is that all of your players are racists, and if you don't stop them from being racist, they'll just racist up the whole game. God damn! The absolute and utter contempt I hold you people at WotC for right now. I can't even put it into words. When I try to, my brain just short circuit. I get so angry thinking about it. How dare you? And the beauty of it is, you people are owned by Hasbro, a company with a $13 billion market cap. You get Ibrahim X. Kendi to write your next version of Dungeons and Dragons, and it wouldn't matter. It would not matter to you. You force it down people's throat and make them buy it. And people will line up and buy it because it's the new shiny. You're all a bunch of cowards and cultural vandals. Nobody who plays Dungeons and Dragons wanted this. We just wanted to be left alone. In the 42 years I have played Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games, I have never, ever seen, encountered, or felt, or harbored a negative prejudice about people based on race, creed, color, orientation, or whatever. But with one mouse click, Wizards of the Coast changed the game. You proud of yourselves, little men? Chris says, if WotC is de-villainizing monsters, then that's going to make the PCs villain. They already think that the players of Dungeons and Dragons are villains. What's one more step? And people wonder why old used 1 ebooks are so pricey, because they're worth it. That's right. I'm going to read something to you guys that I've read to you before, and I'm going to read it, and I'm going to read it, and I'm going to read it, and I'm going to keep on reading it, and I'm going to read it until some yellow-bellied scumbag at Wizards of the Coast has the spine, has the backbone, has the guts, has the balls, has the ovaries to say something to me about it. Mike Carr, 2 June 1978. Players, players, and more players. That's what comprises the D&D phenomena. And phenomenal is what it is. As the audience for this, the granddaddy of all role-playing games, continues to expand. D&D players happily come in all shapes and sizes, and even a fair number of women are counted among those who regularly play the game, making Dungeons and Dragons somewhat special in this regard. The widespread appeal cuts across many boundaries of interest and background, which means that D&D players are marked by a wide range of diversity. In fact, one could easily use the analogy that there are as many types of D&D players as there are D&D monsters. After that, draw your own conclusions. There are unquestionably fast players, slow players, clever players, foolish players, cautious players, reckless players, generous players, greedy players, friendly players, and obnoxious players. As diverse as this melange of enthusiasts is, They all seem to share one commonality, a real love for Dungeons and Dragons and a devotion that few other games can claim. This remarkable loyalty is a great factor in the game's expansion of popularity, and Dungeons and Dragons has become a gaming cult as avid D&Ders have ceaselessly spread the gospel, enrolling new players in expanding groups which just seem to grow and grow. If you're reading this, then you're a D&D player, and this book is for you. This is the second release of the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons series and is designed to be a player's book in every respect, giving you all the background you require on the game system, as well as information you'll need to go adventuring. Advanced Dungeons & Dragons is a game that is demanding for players and dungeon masters alike, but the rewards in terms of enjoyment are vast. There is nothing quite like a successful D&D campaign, and its success is based upon the efforts of all participants. The dungeon master is pivotal, of course, but the players are just as important, for they are the primary actors and actresses in the fascinating drama which unfolds before them. For that reason, their outlook and conduct will greatly affect the flavor and tempo of the campaign. Accordingly, they should do their best to further the success of the entire undertaking. This is often no more than a simple matter of etiquette and following a few guidelines that will suffice to make the game experience more fun for everyone concerned. To wit, be an organized player. Have necessary information on your character readily at hand and available to the dungeon master. Cooperate with the dungeon master and respect his decisions. If you disagree, present your viewpoint with deference to his position as game moderator. Be prepared to accept his decision as final, and remember that not everything in the game will always go your way. Cooperate with the other players and respect their right to participate. Encourage new and novice players by making suggestions and allowing them to make decisions on courses of action rather than dictating their responses. Get in the spirit of the game and use your persona to play with a special personality all its own. Interact with the other players and non-player characters to give the game campaign a unique flavor and life. Above all, let yourself go and enjoy. Mike Carr, TSR Games and Rules Editor, 2nd of June, 1978. Where in that entire spiel is there any bit of exclusionary behavior? I've made jokes. I've put on my Viking hat and a frowny face about other versions of D&D. But that spirit, as far as I can tell, was carried forward for all the D&Ds that TSR published. What gave you the right, Wizards of the Coast? What gave you the right to spit in the face of those words? You cowards. You abject cowards. Everything you've done with Dungeons and Dragons has been bad. Everything. 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 I mean, compared to what you've pulled now, 3rd edition was original D&D. But taken against AD&D and actual OD&D and even basic Dungeons and Dragons and 2nd edition, it's hot garbage. I'm not in a good place about this. Does anybody out there have a Twitter account? Anybody out there? I know a bunch of you guys don't suffer from it, but if you do, tweet that butthead at Wizards of the Coast who justifies their behavior, tweet him a link to this video. I don't care if he comes on stream now and watches the stream. I don't care if he watches it later. Just put the link up there. Samalama said it right. The only exclusionary thing is they all have a love for D&D. That must be what everyone on Twitter is jealous of. Yup. Absolutely right. Oh, and by the way, Vinny Nada Bartolo, I see I see you there. It just Facebook comments are slow to catch up. Who is he? You know, that's a good question. That is a fine question. Because Merle's, they shoved Merle's in a closet. I don't know. Yeah, I can't find this guy's name. So if you know what it is and you want to find it and you want to send him the link, that's fine. Or, you know, just Wizards of the Coast. You can do that too. I have never told someone they were canceled out of my game. I've lost a few viewers for ranting about this stuff, but oh, Jeremy Crawford. Jeremy Crawford, I think, is the person. So there you go. No, I think it's Jeremy Crawford. You know, every time I thought they were scraping bottom. I thought they were scraping bottom back in 2012, 2011, when they started working on the, I guess it would have been 40th anniversary Dungeons & Dragons OD&D set. And Mike Merles primly posted in the design blog for the OD&D set, removed questionable art from the cover of an OD&D book. It's Deb Larson's cover of Supplement 3 Eldritch Wizardry. Deb, 17-year-old high school kid, Larson. "17-year-old girl." Mike, did you just cancel a girl? Did you just cancel a woman? Well, not just a decade ago. But again, you've already been thrown in permanent timeout, Merles. So, and not by me, by the way. I should point out. The bunch of shrieking harpies and danger hares. The same one whose money you beg for and you claw at their feet. Like Gollum in front of Frodo when he had the ring. Yeah, they're the ones that put you there. They're the ones that took you off the face of D&D. Not guys like me. But you always eat yourselves. You always eat yourselves. Not frequently enough. Not rapidly enough. Because if that was the case, I wouldn't have to do any ranting at all. I could just say, well, this is going to come back and bite him. So I wonder what Jeremy Crawford has got locked up in his closet that he hopes to God nobody sees. Who'd you creep on at your table, Crawford? Chris asks, do I have any idea of the popularity of D&D today compared to back in the 70s and 80s? I've heard conservatively that they had 6 to 8 million people from the run of OD&D through 2E. I know that in 90, I think, 90 or 91, when Vampire the Masquerade was released, it outsold Dungeons and Dragons. I know there was a big dip, and I know Magic took a big bite out of them. Jim Ward might be a good person to talk to about that. Jim kind of had his finger on the pulse. Vinny says, I couldn't finish the article on the changes WotC is making to D&D. Yep. I have to read it. I bring this stuff to you guys. And again, for the people who get mad at me for talking about this kind of thing, they are going to come after us. I mean, they already are. It's not just going to be trigger warnings and content warnings slapped all over old school products. I'm just... sick to death of it. All right, that's what I've got, guys. But I mean, I'm one person. If you love D&D, and that includes 5th edition D&D, and you're seeing this happen and you're wondering what in the hell is going on, get out there and do something quick while you can, while there's something to do. Save your D&D. Because we're going to wake up one day, all the old stuff's going to be gone. I won't be able to tell people, look, buy it. Yeah, it sucks giving them money, but then send it to Lulu and have physical copies of it printed. Fight this. And it is censorship. And you have my permission to get in the grill of anyone who says, oh no, it sounds like a bunch of whining cat piss men are mad because they're not going to be able to discriminate. When those words start coming out of someone's mouth, you get in their face. And you remind them who we are. We are not the ones who discriminated. We are the ones who were discriminated against. We're the computer club. We're the AV geeks. were the model builders. The weird kid in the tortoiseshell aviators. The kid who's a little too scrawny, the kid who's a little too hefty, the kid who's got acne or stutter or likes Marvel Comics. But now, powerlifter and Hollywood magnate Joe Manganiello, he's made D&D for the beautiful people, and WotC is sanitizing it. Honestly, why don't you guys just sell Dungeons & Dragons to Disney and let them just completely steam clean it of anything and every... You know what? I've talked about this before on this very stream. Disney used to sell basic D&D. Bad old basic Dungeons & Dragons. From the dark times of the 70s and 80s, when sensibilities weren't as advanced as they are now, you could go on property at Walt Disney World in Central Florida and buy Dungeons & Dragons. Chris says, it seems like the triumph of nerd culture is going to be bad for the hobby. It wasn't cool to be a nerd in the 80s, but D&D was popular. Now it's SJW nerds in skin suits. Nerd culture being popular is not a problem. I mean, look at Stranger Things, all right? Look at even Community with its advanced Dungeons & Dragons, basically a 24-minute skit about D&D. By the way, bit of trivia. If you've ever heard the Dead Alewives, I magic missile the darkness. Are there any girls there? I want to do them. Dan Harmon was a writer for the Dead Alewives. So that D&D skit and the Community episode, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, they have the same parent. Freaks and Geeks, the ultimate episode of Freaks and Geeks. All of those are good portrayals of classic Dungeons and Dragons play. Okay, granted, Community is a little fucked up. It's fine to portray a triumph of the nerds. I mean, with the exception of James, nobody... And that was the point, that his character in Freaks and Geeks was one of the cool people coming and playing D&D. But they didn't write a line where he said, you know what? I'm going to get all the cool people in here, and we'll push you guys out. If that was made today with Wizards of the Coast's help, it would be him and all the other cool people showing up and pushing those guys out and taking over their D&D game. That's what Wizards of the Coast would have. That's what they would have, because that's what they want, and that's what they've got right now. This isn't even about rules anymore, about editions of D&D. This is about bad stewardship of the product. Give it to Kathleen Kennedy. You think it's bad now? This video over on Facebook. Yep, that episode of Freaks and Geeks is fantastic. I better see some D&D in Stranger Things. I better see some AD&D in the background on Stranger Things. Look, Will was right. Can't we just play D&D? Come on, guys. Can we play D&D now? I get it. I'm worn out, guys. I had a really shit night tonight, and I guess I'm venting a little bit. So do you guys have any questions? You guys get anything you want to talk about? Flame off. I don't know who Peter Pischke is, Samalama. But no, it's Jeremy Crawford. What's going on in your games? What are you guys doing hobby-wise? I'll tell you guys a funny one. While you type, I'm sure you're all furiously typing because you all want to be on the stream and have me read your comments, right? That's how that works. 827 subs is very good news, Adam. I think that's awesome. Of course, once a lot of them get around to listening to me scream about Wizards of the Coast, into the void, I might add, I'm sure I'll lose a dozen. But anyway, I made a Dungeons and Dragons cake topper with my Anycubic printer over there. A friend picked out a 3D model, and I converted it over to an STL because it was from a website that offers free resources like asset flips in Unity games, stuff you see for like $9.99 first-person shooters or first-person hack and slash or third-person action-adventure games that are like $9 on Steam, and they're like not worth the time it took you to download them. They tend to go to cheap repositories to get their models for characters and terrain and vehicles and yada, yada, yada. So, I'm going to pause. I'm going to pause you there for a second, Salman. I'm going to come back to you. But anyway, so a friend of mine tracked down one of these models. It's like a Stonehenge kind of thing. Stonehenge. And she said, I'd really like to have this as a wedding cake topper. And I was like, okay, well, I don't even know if it was free, or rather if it cost anything or if it was free. But I said, acquire it, send it to me. And if it's in most popular formats, I can load it into my 3D printer and print it for you and then clean it up. And she said, could you paint it? It's like, yeah. Could you flock it? Yeah. Could you put mine and my husband's miniatures on it from your D&D game way back when? Yeah. So that's what I spent a chunk of the week doing. I was up till 6 a.m. on Tuesday working on that. I've had months to do it. It's my fault. All right, so let's talk about Samalama's issue here. And I want to hear from you guys about this. Trying to learn how to DM a game with a level 9 party in 2E. My first time DMing a game that's gotten this far, and I'm getting stumped on combat encounters. First of all, Sama, how many players are you running in a published campaign world? Are you running a... there goes the light. Hit me with some Jerry Rafferty, guys. Is it a published campaign world? Is it your own creation? Are you using a module or modules? I'm glad you liked it, Rusty. It's nice to be appreciated when, it happens. You don't get forgotten. Anyway, so yeah, feed me those details, Samalama, because I'll tell you, a high-level party need be no more difficult to DM than a low-level party. It's really not difficult, brother. Homebrew completely with 3 players. Okay. With a smaller, higher-level party like that, sometimes you gotta go more to puzzles. I don't necessarily mean Tomb of Horrors or White Plume, or although a ninth level, a 3-player ninth level party going through White Plume Mountain would be a pip. But yeah, look at what the party. I'm guessing you got like a melange of classes in those 3 players, like a fighter magic user thief and a fighter cleric and a cleric magic user, or magic user thief. So when you say, now if it's like 1 fighter, 1 magic user, 1 thief, or 1 fighter, 1 magic user, 1 cleric, no multi-classing or anything like that, that's a different challenge altogether. Because I don't care what level you are, 25th level Archmage, and charge 10 fire giants at him, he gonna die. He's gonna die. He's gotten an average of 18 hit points by the time he hits name level, and then 1 hit point per level thereafter. So you're looking at about 43 hit points on average. I mean, with a larger group, sometimes it can literally just be a case of, okay, instead of sending in goblins, hobgoblins, kobolds, orcs, I'll send in gnolls, bugbears, and ogres. Now, let me give you a piece of advice, Samalama. Challenge your players in combat encounters by playing monsters ruthlessly clever. They know their caves that they're in. They know what their homes are like. Stick spellcaster. Let me tell you something. 9th level party. Bugbear den. 36 bugbears. You got a chieftain that's fighting like, I think, a hill giant or an ogre. Bodyguards that fight like ogres. Put witch doctors in there. All right? Magic users casting this, that, and the other. Drop a witch doctor on him. That's equivalent of a 7th level magic user. He has a better than even chance to hit a dispel magic and drop that magic user's spells, whatever he's buffing the party with. Oh, that's true. You make a good point, Chris. The power creep for some monsters between 1E and 2E. But still, tribal spellcasters. This is a party that I think a good challenge for them would be an ogre dungeon or a gnoll bugbear mix encounter. Or maybe even gnoll bugbear ogres. Backed up by, like, say, a frost giant. Like a frost giant and his wife are using these things as minions. But spellcasters, humanoid spellcasters, are absolutely your trick arrow in your quiver. You've got to be ready, willing, and able to throw that at them. Let me tell you, one night's encounter, well, almost, I'd say half the night, was a party with 12 active players. 12 active players. And I told you guys about this adventure, or this encounter. 1 opponent, a 9th level human magic user. 1 opponent. And I'll break it down for you what I had him do, if I can remember it, because my notes are over on the other PC. But, 9th level magic user, he knows the party's coming. He has scrolls prepared. First scroll is guards and wards. Second scroll is summon monsters, orders the monsters to hide behind some terrain. This is underground. This is in a dungeon in a cathedral. First spell he casts is invisibility. Next spell he casts is mirror image. Party walks in. He immediately drops a wall of force on one of the characters, an NPC actually, one of the people accompanying. A very important. So they can't do anything. The summoned monsters come out and start engaging the magic users. And it was ice toads and something else. I can't remember what it was. But they're out there doing freeze damage and everything else. They don't even have to roll a 2-hit. They can just freeze, area freeze, and screw up the spellcaster's spells. Then he's casting charm person spells on party members and hold person spells on party members. All while he's hanging from the ceiling. Oh, and he cast blink on himself. So when the party finally gets to see him when he does something offensive, they see 4 copies of him strobing around the ceiling. And he's got minor globe of invulnerability on himself. One magic user. Granted, the summoned monsters were doing a good job. But that's something to consider. That's something to keep in mind. Don't be afraid to throw magic users. Now, if you have the opposite problem, if it's that your encounters are too hard, just bring it back. Just don't throw 10 frost giants and an 11th level chaotic evil magic user at them. Just do less. It's always easier to say just do less than here's what you should do to do more. But enemy spellcasters should be the encounters you're going with this. Let me tell you something. One of my fine friends, a fellow whose opinion I value more highly than my own when it comes to first edition AD&D, is Paul Stormberg. Now, there is an encounter in Descent into the Depths of the Earth, where the party can inadvertently stumble on the lair of a lich, Asperdes the First. He spent days preparing for that encounter. Like, he was like, that was my job. Like, I'd go to work and then I'd come home and then I'd figure up spells. Like, what spells could a 25th level magic user bring to bear? And when the encounter finally went off, it was hours of D&D play fighting him. And Paul plays pretty darn close to by the book. Enemy spellcasters should be your go-to for mid-high level parties. I don't mean mid to high level. I mean mid-high level by like 9th, 10th level. I consider ultra high level parties, you start talking about 14th, 15th, 16th. That's mid. 7th to 9th, that's low high level. Or high mid level. Good, Sama. Listen, come back and tell us. I mean, don't go. You don't have to leave now. That's not what I'm saying. But I do want to hear back. We need a report back. But let me tell you something. Be evil, but be fair. Okay? if the party schnookers, the bad guys, two things. It should be a learning experience for you as the DM to understand how to better DM the next such encounter, but it should also go to the players if they're winning it. Don't do shit like, all right, you see him waving his hands and you're thinking in your head he's going to cast Fireball. And the party's like, the party magic is like, I'm casting Resist Fire on myself and the two fighters. It's whatever. Don't go, he's casting Ice Storm then. Don't do that. All right, that's the hallmark of a bad DM. Make your game plan, stick with it, flex with it. If the party has access to Globe of Invulnerability and the magic user spells are bouncing off, think about other things he could be doing to them or doing to escape them. But don't, do adjust your plans. But don't like, I was going to cast Ice Storm, really, I promise, pinky swear, no, my fingers aren't crossed behind my back. That is the equivalent. That's not a good game plan. That's the equivalent of like, say you're playing a football game, just a pickup football game or whatever. Or even not a pick it. Let's just say a coach said, like if the quarterback is going to throw the ball in football, in American football, and he looks out and all the guys that can catch the ball have defense around them. They're all in heavy coverage and the quarterback can't throw the ball. He may tuck it and try to run with it instead, or hand it off to somebody and have them run with it. All right. That's adjusting. That's like saying, okay, well, shit, they've got Globe of Invulnerability up. What can I do? You make those adjustments on the fly. That's like, okay, okay, all my wide receivers are in coverage. Yeah, I'm not getting a good read here. Okay, I'm going to tuck it and run it. I'm going to cast Ice Storm is what I'm going to cast. Yeah, that's the equivalent of saying, well, I threw the ball, but it wasn't a successful one, so I'm going to run over there and pick it up, even though it's an incomplete pass, and run and say, no, I handed it off to myself down the field. All right, just don't do that. Adam says, my 2EDM girlfriend says, throw a couple of Gorgons at the party. Use the optional D10 dice rule, hit dice rule. Hopefully that helps. Or a Medusa or two. The Medusa is an underrated villainess. I want to put it, first of all, Adam, that your girlfriend is a 2E, is an AD&D dungeon master, is super awesome. That's wonderful. Like I said, when I read out of the 1E player's handbook, a fair number of women are counted amongst those who regularly play the game. And the fact that your girlfriend DMs is even better. She can come on the stream, she can get on her own YouTube account and come in the stream and comment. That's fine too. But to go back to my rant earlier, how angry I got. I'm still angry about it. I'm just not going to talk about it. I really like taking cool monsters that have the potential to be more than just monsters. Like, So the NPC Jane in my AD&D game, she got her alignment changed from chaotic evil to lawful good, helm of alignment change. She's a type 5 demoness. Now she's on the prime material plane. She's trying to leave that behind her. So you can throw that at your players. Aha, Medusa will hack her apart. She's shielding her eyes from the party and weeping and crying out, please don't kill me. Maybe she's not evil. You see, Wizards of the Coast, we as dungeon masters, we're smart enough to make our own decisions about not always evil. You censorious turds. I think there's a rule where size affects the hit dice size. It's a good rule. It's good because monsters like whales can have more HP and not be super good at resisting spells. I have never played Night Below, so I will take your word on that, Samalama. And let's be honest. Let's be 100% honest. Even evil monsters, if your party says, we're going to parlay with the goblins, I speak in goblin to them and say, hey, we're here to stop the bugbears. They're the real threat. Well, I rolled an 03. The goblins would scream, kill them all and we'll get favor from the bugbears. But let's say I'd rolled a 100. The goblins might I did. I dropped the dice back in the tray and it came up double nuts. The goblins might enthusiastically help the party. I mean, they're evil aligned, but they're not stupid. Okay, well, goblins are a little stupid. But the point is, size affects the hit dice size. It's good because monsters like whales can have more HP and not be super good. So I'm of two. This is just personal preference. All this is personal preference. AD&D, first edition AD&D. I know that Gary said, at least regarding dragons, he actually intended to use, was it D10s or maybe D12s for their hit dice? Which I don't know that I believe because, I mean, he's got the age classes, the 8 age classes and so on. But I can believe that in the overall, he wanted to use differing hit dice for differing monsters. But he never published extensive errata, and I'm kind of tempted to go with it as is. There's some dice oddness in AD&D with regard to monsters, like surprise, like the spectator, which is a beholder with 4 eye stalks and its mouth opens downward. The spectator is like, it uses a D12 for surprise, which is weird. Yeah, hi Gygaxian, Sama. Gary wasn't afraid to talk intelligently to us. Of course, half these people believe that Gary Gygax was some kind of monster himself anyway. See, in their make-believe world, monsters can be redeemed, but in real life, people can't. How fucked up is that? If you engage in wrongthink on Twitter or vote for the wrong person, you are forever canceled. We cast you into dust. We throw you into the void. But demons aren't always evil. Buckheads. Adam, I don't know. Again, I don't know. That's you'd have to go through a lot of Gary Gygax's posts on EN World, which I think they may be archived at Knights and Knaves, but also Dragon's Foot, and then just interviews and so on, just to see if you could find out if Gary said that. I swear I think he did say it. I don't know that I would use... Okay, let me... Let's say you live in a rarefied air and you have a Plymouth Superbird. Now, if you don't do cars, if you've seen the Disney Pixar movie Cars, the car that's voiced by Richard Petty is a Plymouth Superbird, and he won the Daytona 500 in a car just like that. The Plymouth Superbird is a Plymouth Roadrunner that has been modified with a nacelle in the front, basically a nose cone, with angled headlight covers so there's no drag, and this massive wing for downdraft. It is to date the fastest production American automobile. When Plymouth released a limited run of Plymouth Superbirds, they are still faster than any line production car in the United States. Corvettes, Mustangs, even Shelby Cobras, which actually I don't think Shelby Cobras count because they were Ford conversions by Shelby. There's nothing faster has ever been built. Again, production automobile. Let's say you have one, and you go to car rallies, and you know people with a private track, and you get to drive it at nearly 200 miles an hour. Now, one day, a Chrysler engineer says, I found these documents that back in 1970, the Plymouth engineers said, hey, if we had thought of it, we totally would have put EFI and other modern affinities on the motor. Do you want to put them on? Do you want to put EFI on and coil packs instead of spark plugs? Do you want to do that? And I would have to say no. Even if it technically made it better, no. I wouldn't do that. AD&D is the Plymouth Superbird of role-playing games. It really is. I wouldn't put EFI on it. All right? I wouldn't put a CD player in it. I wouldn't put a surround system in it. I just wouldn't go like that. So let's go back to comments. I've talked about cars enough. Let's see. Samalama, the way they're treating his son, I assume you're talking about Ernie. It's ridiculous. Yes. VG says, a hallmark of fantasy is that there are creatures of pure evil. If you take it that way, it's a different genre. Nothing wrong with that. But if you want to play fantasy, the evil comes with it. I agree with you. There are creatures of pure evil, but I think it's more fun when you can have the super rare occasion of an evil creature that has been or can be redeemed. In your campaign, you can do it. I mean, you would never, like Gene Roddenberry, when Gene Roddenberry wrote Star Trek, You know, he didn't write like the Enterprise, the whole crew is Vulcans. That would get boring. So there's one Vulcan. Jane, the demoness who holds human form and is lawful good in my campaign. She's the Vulcan of my campaign. But that doesn't mean I want every demon to pop up and say, I want to be lawful good too. You know, you're having a good feeling. You're out there. I'll be lawful good too. So then one day they leave old Grazd sitting there in the abyss going, the fuck did all my hired help go? So I think it can be fun to have a rare example of an atypical being that has through circumstance or however has changed their alignment. Now, with that said, what about a fallen angel? I mean, what about a planetar or a diva who became chaotic evil for reasons? And that's fun stuff you can play with. But just going in and saying, oh, mind flayers aren't evil anymore. What the actual fuck? Of all of the races they had to steam clean and sanitize, of all of that, the Mind Flayer, the Ithalid, that's like... My buddy in the chat there, Volcano God, has run the Aliens game. Would you ever have an Aliens game or campaign where there were xenomorphs that wanted to be good? That there were vegan xenomorphs who just wanted to put on some Barry White and say, no, baby. Let's make little baby xenomorphs the natural, old-fashioned way. It doesn't have to be some gory mess. No, of course not. Of course you wouldn't do that. And don't bring me that, well, mind flayers are intelligent, though. Go fucking watch Alien, you dipshit. Or Aliens. And tell me they're not intelligent. They are absolutely intelligent. Mind flayers are utterly alien. They want two things out of races: their brains to eat and their bodies to be metamorphosized into more mind flayers. That's it. That's all they want. They view all other races as cattle to either have the maggot form of a mind flayer put into them so they undergo some horrible metamorphosis and turn into a mind flayer, or just have their brains eaten and their corpses discarded. That's it. That's all they want. Why do you have to have this of all of the fucking races? You can get angry with me about orcs, about drow, about goblins, gnolls. But did you really just shit up mind flayers? God. Good God. The Xenos represent our deepest fears, which is how drow, mind flayers, etc. should be seen. Exactly. Boys and girls, I'm going to say something that might get my channel killed right now. Just I'll wake up tomorrow, no viewers, and a nasty letter from from YouTube. Drow aren't black people. Drow skin is not a black person's skin tone. Drow do not hail from sunny areas that boost melanin content and thus darker skin. If you can't differentiate between what we would call a black person and the absolute obsidian slate black of dark elves who share no characteristics, none at all, with the aforementioned actual real world race. If you can't differentiate between those two, you might actually be a racist. You might want to think about that. You might want to take a step back. You might want to put down the dice and go, I have a problem. I am, you yourself might have to think of yourself now as, I'm actually a racist. No, they removed anything negative, Chris. Anything negative about mind flayers. Just that they're, they think far ahead in the future and they plot and scheme. That's it. That's the worst thing we're allowed to say about the mind flayer Xenos threat. But back to Drow. Drow hate their elven cousins. They hate humanity because humanity is fecund. And they view dwarves, elves, they view elves, gnomes, and halflings as offshoots of that. Of course, Drow are supposed to be black people. That's why they have straight white hair. Yes, exactly. The silvery white hair of Drow is, a hallmark of, wait a minute. I mean, when you think about the Mind Flayer and the xenomorph from Aliens, I mean, they really do represent deep fears. Dan O'Bannon, when Dan O'Bannon wrote Alien, he straight up said in an interview, I wanted to scare the bejesus out of and shock all of the men watching this movie by having an alien that rapes a man down the throat. All right. And he has to become pregnant with its child, and it rips him apart to get out. I did that to like completely freak men out. Aliens are and have always been about body horror and sexual fears. There's no escaping that. Mind flayers, very similar. I mean, who isn't afraid of having something come along and just take their mind out of them in an extremely horrible fashion? They sanitized any generalities about any species. So yes, a given mind flayer might be good, and they certainly can't be slavers. I wonder how this is going to affect. The new Baldur's Gate that's coming out. Are we going to have like some drows? Oh, please don't kill me. No, I'll help you. I'm a good drow. Or not a drow, a mind flayer, because the bad guys in the new Baldur's Gate are all mind flayers. It'll be interesting to see. For sure. Yep, some SJWs are racist. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. Come on, any more questions, guys? Any more questions? Let me ask you guys a question. Did I give a recap of the last half of the? I think I did. I feel like I gave a recap of the last half of the Christmas game. But if I didn't, somebody will leave a comment in there. Since we are going there, let me throw this out. When WotC changed orcs to be not inherently evil, warmongering rapists because they thought they might be confused with black people, doesn't it? Yes, Volcano God, it absolutely does. It absolutely does. And people have said this and said this and said this, and it's screaming into the void because nobody at Wizards of the Coast will listen. Nobody at Wizards of the Coast will admit to the fact that if you say orcs as rapacious, warmongering, enslaving, murderous, thieving creatures is racist, because nobody will say it. You get them to that point and they won't discuss it with you anymore. Because they know what they have to say next. They know what they have to say next. They know where their thoughts were. And they bought into it and they can't back down from it. They're fully invested in it. They've gone to the prevent defense and they keep getting stunted on. And they can't do anything about it because it's where they are. So they have to keep going forward with this, and people saying, but that means you think. Because if they stop, they'll look gutless, and they'll know, and we'll say, you stopped because you finally realized what you were on the verge of saying. Samalama says, I'm making a cave for a session right now. Good. Exactly. I never in a bit. I thought orcs were two-legged pigs. Thanks to AD&D. I mean, the absolute state of it. Guys, let me challenge you to do something. I've mentioned this before. I want to challenge you to do something. And it's going to cost you a little bit of money. Don't give it to me. That's not what I'm saying. And if you want to give me money, that's fine. I obviously can't have super chats, but, you know. But let me challenge you to do something, guys. Pick a book. Whether it's available POD or not, softback, hardback, doesn't matter. Pick a book that you already have, a D&D book that you already have, a module, a book, whatever. And there goes my other light. I'm going to be sitting in total darkness here. How do I look on screen right now? Oh, it's not too bad. I don't look too awful. But pick that book. And if you don't have it already printed on demand, get it printed. Whether you get it printed at Lulu, whether you get POD from DM's Guild, or whether you take it to a local print shop and just get like a soft bound first edition Dungeon Master's Guide or whatever. Take that copy to a used bookstore and trade it in. Or sell that copy on eBay. But, and I want to emphasize this, state in the sale that it is a reproduction. Don't ask exorbitant prices for it. Shipping plus what it costs to get you printed. I want to challenge everyone to do that with one AD&D book. Like Santa on Vacation. But I want you to get classic D&D into circulation. Go out there and get a classic D&D book. Not something off your shelf. I'm not asking you to take a 1978 pressing of G1 and trade it in for a couple of bucks at your local used bookstore. And I want you to do that because I want to get... It's fine to say, oh, AD&D is back in print. But get it back out there and get it back out there for a reasonable price. Tilt at some windmills. Maybe it won't accomplish anything. But look, there's 7 of us in the chat right now, okay? There's 7 of us in the chat. If you guys did that with one module and you got one softback player's handbook or monster manual, and you took them to a local used bookstore, hey, Rob, and you traded them in, maybe they got, maybe you need another copy of Lord of the Rings or an old Hot Rod magazine or some Zane Grey Westerns or something, and you want some store credit. Take something that is intrinsically valueless to you from a monetary standpoint and put it in circulation. And if you like the person that runs a bookstore, you can be upfront with them and say, yeah, this is a reproduction. But it's valid, it's legit. Get them out there. Get them in get them in circulation. Make someone's first D&D not an e-document that Wizards of the Coast can take away on a whim. How fucking 1984 is that? Oh, look, the chocolate ration is up to 20 grams this quarter. That's an increase from last quarter. We've destroyed all the newspapers saying that the last quarter's chocolate ration was 30 grams. We're just saying it's an increase now. We have always been at war with East Asia. Mind flayers were always good. Drow were always good. We have always been at war with East Asia. But do that. Oh, Dungeon Minister, thank you. First of all, I love your channel. Welcome to the chat, Dungeon Minister. Little free libraries. I left some old school reproductions in a couple of those. That is brilliant. There are a couple of little free libraries right here in Longwood, Florida. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get... Now, Volcano God knows what I've been talking about with respect to get. He actually turned me on. I have some lovely OD&D combined settings. I use our combined books. I use them to play OD&D with because if they get lost, stolen, or damaged, I can get more. My OD&D book's autographed by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson and Tracy Lesh and Jim Ward and Rob Kuntz and Tim Kask. Yeah, no, I'm not taking those to a convention with me. But yeah, get some printed up and stick them in a little free library. Well, there you go, Rob. Send some stuff to Lulu. Send an OD&D, bind up an OD&D set into one PDF and send it to Lulu. It'll cost you like $4 plus shipping and handling. And put it in the little free library. Put 5 of them in the little free library. Be a spendthrift and spend $20. Or a softback DMG Player's Handbook and Monster Manual. Be your local Johnny Dungeons and Dragons seed. And go out there and put classic Dungeons and Dragons into circulation. Maybe you don't like classic Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe you're sitting there saying, but Bill, I'm here for the vibe, man. I play 2E. I play 3E. Do it with those. Dungeon Minister, if you are in the U.S., there is a store called Dollar Tree sells D&D dice for a buck. Dollar Tree sells D&D dice for $1. Go to Dollar Tree. I mean, do it. Just put a whole OD&D set in there. Why not? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Samalama. Make it a Christmas miracle. The little free library. Scatter and tell your friends. People, look, I don't care if they don't ever want to come and sub to my stream. It'd be nice. But do that. And you guys over on Facebook, if you're still watching over on Facebook, nobody's watching over on Facebook anymore. But do that. You can order a printed hardcover. $21 is kind of a big ask to print some stuff up and give it out. But here, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna check this out live. So let's see. Let's go to. Let's see if Lulu will let me do this. So let's book pricing, print book. All right. Please select book size. So we want A4. I think is the Player's Handbook. Page count 130. $130. Whoops. No, not 13,430. 130. Black and white standard. We got to be bold. Paper type, 60-pound white. Paperback, we're on a budget. Matte finish. Cost per book, $5.96. Imagine putting a first edition Player's Handbook. Let's go up here. All those same stats, but a Dungeon Master's Guide. 240 pages. Black and white. No, black and white standard again. Come on. 60-pound white. Paperback. Matte finish. That's $9.48. That's a little more. That's twice the page count. What's the Monster Manual? 128 pages? Coolidge says, we need to do this with the 144-page Deities and Demigods. I'm gonna print out some copies of the Deities 144-page. Dungeon Minister says, we'll check it out. Coolidge says, oh, we already read that. Joe Lucas, that's what Yokai Gal, the creator of the OSR game Karen, does. Bundles his games, some free modules, and some dice in the local little libraries. Well, there you go. Guys, if you want to get classic RPGs back in circulation, do this. Do this thing. Spend $5 plus shipping and handling to get a player's handbook. So $5 plus $9 for the Dungeon Master's Guide plus another $5. So you're looking at $20 for a softback set of AD&D books to stick in your local little library. And you could do a box set. Like you could, go to like an office supply place and get like a cardboard box, just a slip over cardboard box to put them all in. Put a nice label on it, throw some dice in. Volcano God's talking about his AD&D campaign on Fantasy Grounds. That's a going thing. That's awesome. So I've been sitting here for like almost 2 hours with the mic cable under my leg, and it's like wearing a blister. So I had to move it. And a bunch of 5e players are interested who are sick of 5e and love playing AD&D. Guys, the people who want to play classic Dungeons and Dragons are out there. I mean, let's be bold. Let's go one step further. I mean, we're going to be sticking these things in little libraries, right? Slap a bunch of Stranger Things stickers on the outside. Put a little note in there. This is the D&D they play in Stranger Things. It's absolutely doable, guys. It is absolutely doable. Samalama says, I need to find some 1E games going. Well, right there, Volcano God, Samalama, Volcano God, Samalama. Or did you mean person to person, like face-to-face IRL games? You got a good crowd going tonight, by the way, guys. It just took me yelling for like an hour. I'm gonna take my Santa hat is like starting to get really hot. I'm gonna put it right there. I don't know though. I think it could be a good look. Just let my head cool off for a second. Mele Kalikimaka is the word done. And I watch it. You think YouTube will jump on me for content like saying dirty words, forbidden words, on live streams? Let me start singing some Bing Crosby and watch him shut the channel down. Yeah, Samalama and Volcano God. You guys totally should hook up on... let me see. Oh, yeah, I think this is a good time to mention this. Especially, like, I haven't seen Dungeon Minister around the Discord. But if you guys are interested, let me see. Invite... is that the right... yeah, that's the right one. All right. So if you're not on the Discord, This is a good time as any to mention the Discord. If you're here and you're not subscribed to the channel, please click subscribe. Please join us here on the channel. It will be awesome. Sorry, I'm getting pulled in a lot of different directions here, guys. I mean to go silent on y'all. And the Delver Discord is the show Discord, so yeah, you guys can just join me on there. So if you guys are looking for a hot 1E game played via Fantasy Grounds, hit up Volcano God. My Monday game is rockin'. You players might not be cool with gaming with 13 other people on Discord, but and yeah, that's something I should point out too about the Monday game, because I do occasionally get asks on, hey, can I play in the Monday game? If you are did I copy and I copied and pasted? Let's see. Oh no, it was in the show anyway. Yeah, if you're not comfortable gaming with like up to 13 people, the Monday night game might not be for you. But we live stream a game every week here, 8 p.m. Tuesday night. Right here on the channel, we live stream an AD&D game. I currently got 3 players. I think they'd like to have more folks in their party. So if you want to play on, I said Thursday, I meant Tuesday. Tuesday nights at 8 p.m., come sit down and play AD&D. My table size when I'm running virtual table is current table size plus N, where N equals the number of people that want to join. So if Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that's 5 o'clock out on the left coast. That's like 1 in the morning for UK folks. But if you want to jam on some AD&D, then hit me up. That game is live streamed. Just like this, just like what's going out right now, that game is live streamed. So fairly warned be ye, says I. But to go back to what I was talking about with the OD&D books, please do that, guys. I think we could, we could start a hell of a thing here. We could really launch a movement. Get put 3rd edition books out there if you want. 2nd edition, basic, expert, OD&D, 1st edition AD&D. Is 4E stuff available in print? I don't know. Those 4E people are. But just get it all out there. Print 1 or 2 things. Not for profit. Look, I'm a good capitalist. I'm not like that asshole who wrote in the Jacobin months ago, capitalism ruined Dungeons and Dragons, and I have proof of this because I'm a communist. That guy's article is bullshit. D&D has always been for profit, but I'm talking about an undergrad. This is a punk ethos moment. All right? Slip AD&D out there. Look. I want to talk to my dear friends right now who worked on Osric and got AD&D free from Wizards of the Coast. Look, if you look on the Osric rules, my name are in the rules, and I'm only mentioning this by way of disclaimer, okay? My participation in Osric was the types of sphinxes, and I think snakes, but Stuart, if that's not the case, or Matt, or anybody else who worked on it, and you want to call me out on snakes, that's fine. But I know it was sphinxes, might have been snakes, possibly could have been spiders. That's it. So that's my full disclaimer. Guys, people who've watched Stranger Things don't know Osric from a hole in the ground. We gotta lure them in with the McDonald's Happy Meal that is AD&D. That's the books they saw on Stranger Things. All right? We gotta lure them in with that. Then we give them the steak dinner of Osric and so on and etc. And they'll come to it naturally. But the punk ethos I'm talking about, there was a great old, there was an EP released by, I think it was Dead Kennedys, or it might have been Fear. But back in the 70s, was it Jack Valenti? I think it's probably Jack Valenti. The guy was a colossal douche nozzle. Released this, there's they had this skull and crossbones under a cassette with a logo around it. Home taping is killing the music industry. Well, again, Dead Kennedys, I'm not sure who it was. Maybe it was Black Flag, maybe it was Fear. Released an EP, and the back half of it was blank. That is, if you flip the cassette over, the B-side of it was blank. And they printed in the manual the logo with a saying, home taping is killing the music industry, and we're helping by giving you a blank tape to record whatever you want. That's the punk ethos moment that we are at right now. So if home taping is killing the music industry, and a punk band was willing to spend their money, Kennedy's, thank you, Coolidge. If they were willing to spend their money they just could have put the EP on both sides, or release some studio shit and charge for a full album. Yeah, home taping is killing the music industry. Here's a blank tape so you can help, is what they said. Then this is our blank tape moment. Spend a little bit of your money. You talk about giving during the holiday season. Hey, Brooke. This side has been left blank, so you can help. So this is our Dead Kennedys blank cassette moment. I want you to do that. Take $5, print out a copy of the AD&D rules, bound together, stick it in a local free library or trade it in. If you want to make a little bit of money, if you want to have some money to spend out of this, if you want to have something to say and you've been eyeing that Betty Page pictorial at the local bookstore that they keep under the glass so the kiddies can't get to it, and you're like, I need some store credit in this place. Print out. Now I don't mean print out like burn through 16 bubble jet cartridge sets and then staple them down the spine and say, here's a book. Get it printed at Lulu. Spend some money. Say, look, here's an AD&D book. Bam. Get a color cover if you can. Talk to them. Figure out how you do like a color cover. If it, it'll be a little bit more money. Oh, Dungeon Minister and Azul joining us over on the Discord. You're quite welcome. Thank you, guys. And it was in God we trust. Khalid is just bringing Bring in the punk music knowledge. Set Wizards of the Coast on fire. Metaphorically. Set Wizards of the Coast on fire. Circulating AD&D books is killing modern role-playing games. Here is your copy so you can help. Write that on the inside cover. Home taping is killing the record industry profits. We left this side blank so you can help, and that's In God We Trust Incorporated, the EP from Dead Kennedys. Didn't always agree with everything Dead Kennedys had to say, don't get me wrong, but, and I say this as a capitalist, I say this as a guy who likes to make money. I like having money. Let's talk it to him, guys. We have the power. But what you... God, it hurts to say this, but what you've got to be willing to do is get as much stuff from DM's Guild as you can. As much classic D&D. Whatever means classic to you. Again, I got people on this channel, I got people watching this stream who listen to... who play 3rd edition. That's like, oh, that was the D&D that came out when I was a tyke. Of course I want to play 3rd edition. You know, your parents weren't born when OD&D came out. I get it. A copy out and put it in a free library, or take it to the local local use bookstore. Take it to the FLGS and ask them. Say, hey, is it all right? I mean, it's a reproduction. Can I trade this in for some store credit? I mean, don't be a dick about it. Don't take like 30 copies of the 3.5 Player's Handbook and be like, I want store credit. But do that make that your New Year's resolution. One book, and go out and print up a bunch of OD&D rule sets. It's not Swords and Wizardry, not Osric. Go get the OD&D rule sets. Print them together with the supplements in a nice, thick, chunky, digest-sized book, and get 5 or 6 of them. Go run a games day. Make that your contribution to Free RPG Day. It's Free RPG Day? Oh, cool. Here's my giveaway for everybody. Original Dungeons and Dragons, and run an OD&D game, and then 5 people have got OD&D and they've got all the D&D they need. Give out dice too. Be extravagant. Get some cheapy D&D miniatures and say, look, here's everything you need. I put it in a box for you. Guys, this can be a real... I'm fully aware that, you know, I'm not starting something here that in, 5 weeks I'm going to have Wizards lawyers at my house telling me to stop saying this because I've heard profits of their new D&D books. But this could really start something. And when you put this out here, if you give out free copies at Free RPG Day, which you absolutely need to, Volcano God, I'm going to need those Lulu templates for the prints that you made up for me. I'm serious. I'm very serious. So, like, if you got them handy, email me the templates to Lulu to get those done. Tell people this game will never call you racist. I will never come to your house and cut parts of this book out. It will never, Gary Gygax will never cancel you on Twitter. You will never get dragged. Guys, I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it right now. Every person I have ever run original or first edition advanced D&D for has loved it. They've loved it and they've wanted to play more. Once upon a time, I had an embarrassment of riches. Back in the early 2000s, even before my daughter was born, boomers, Gen Xers were dumping their AD&D books on used bookstores. A Dungeon Master's Guide was worth about $15, maybe $10 for a player's handbook and $12 for a monster manual. I think the $12 average was probably because it's got titties in it. They weren't worth that much, and particularly the copies with the orange spines and the Jeff Easley art. They suffered from bad fall apart. I had those and just a crap ton of classic modules that were in terrible shape, beaten up. Some dude was asking about AD&D on EN World, and I said, PM me your address, and I shipped him a box of classic AD&D. Now, I wouldn't do that nowadays, but somebody out there has a set of classic AD&D books and modules. Courtesy of me. It is an incredibly generous thing of me. But you can do that now, without, without it costing the farm. Just be brave. Be bold. Yeah, maybe it's a tiny little dent in the $13 billion market cap colossus that are those dickheads in Seattle. I'm sorry, Dungeon Minister. I'm sorry. I say swears on my live stream sometimes. I'm sorry. Booba. Just be bold and brave. And you know what? Maybe you've got deep enough pockets. And you can do this a couple of times a month. Just keep going back to the free library. If your OD&D books are gone, stick 2 more in there. Go to the used bookstore. If the AD&D books are gone, stick 2 more there. If your FLGS owner is like, hey, yeah, I'm cool with that. People like that stuff, vintage sells, sure. Take them some more every so often. If you have the pockets, don't take food out of your kid's mouth to do this. All right, ultimately we're talking about elf games here. Thank you, Father. It's, on its face, it's so laughably simple that I can't believe I didn't think of this before. Free libraries, used bookstores, FLGS, eBay. And if you're a collecting guy and you're like, you're going to ruin the collectibles. Circulating a copy of OD&D wood grain that's in a Lexan box. Nobody was ever going to play. Let me tell you something. I have seen Paul Stormberg shepherd an auction for an OD&D set that was a print test. It was the wood grain box. It did not have the spine or the cover art pasted on it. But here's the thing. It was shrink wrapped. TSR shrink wrapped it for whatever reason, or the printing house shrink wrapped it. And it sold for thousands upon thousands of, I think it went for like $10,000 or $11,000. That box could have 3 copies of Reader's Digest from 1974 in it. And you never know. So collectors, I'm not talking about taking money away from you guys, okay? Be upfront. That is one thing. I'm telling you, be upfront and honest and say this is a repro, but it's the same stuff. And you say this will never hurt you. This will, again, slip a little note in there. This won't call you a racist. This won't cancel you. This won't get on Twitter and gatekeep you out of the hobby. This won't throw you out of the hobby. This will always be there for you. Whether you're black, white, man, woman, Hispanic, Asian, straight, gay, Christian, atheist, Jew, Muslim, Taoist, Buddhist, American, Australian, Russian, Brazilian, Faroe Islander. All right? There's a beauty to dead systems. But we got to act now, guys. All right? We've got to act now. They're already eating their own. They're already eating their own. And when they get full, or when they lose the taste of it, they'll take out their knives and forks and they'll turn to the D&D classics, and then those will be destroyed. And that'll be the end of it. They'll just click a button and they'll be gone. And then you have to resort to means other than legal if you want them. If you're a person that wants them. I want to address what you're saying here, Brooke. 1E is not user-friendly, especially by today's standards, and setting them out with no guidance I don't see working well. I wish it would. Brooke, this is where the beauty of the internet can shine through. Print out your own errata sheet and just say, go to this guy's YouTube channel. Go to Dragon's Foot. Send them towards us. Just stick that in there, and there is the guidance. How many thousands of years of experience do you think all of the DMs who've loved and played classic Dungeons and Dragons from the start, how many thousands of years combined do you think we have? Hundreds of issues of the dragon. I have asked questions before, and Volcano God can back me up on this. I have asked questions before that have been asked and answered over and over again in the dragon. I asked to all you have to do is just put a slip of paper in there directing people. Write it by hand in the book so it doesn't get lost. If you have any questions, go to this website. Go to this guy's YouTube channel. It doesn't even have to be mine. You know what? The Dungeon Minister has like a basic expert D&D YouTube channel that you can and should subscribe to. And you can ask him questions. You can ask me. You can come on the stream and ask all of us. It's worth learning. Yes, Samalama, you're right. You're absolutely right. It is worth learning. So, Brooke, I hope that answers your question at least a little bit. Is it perfect? No. But if you dig into it, and there's a content warning of Danger, this game is freaking awesome. You're going to have questions about it because I'm guessing you don't speak High Gygaxian. Let me help you out. Just a little bit of direction to where we are right now to a neophyte. I'm not talking about putting your personal email address in there. I'm just saying a few places where people can go out and find and find out the cool info. Almost said the good word. I don't really want to say like the gospel. But that's all stuff you can do, guys. That's all. It's all stuff that you can do. You can get it out there. You can get the word out there. This is awesome. I have like 11 viewers. I never have this many viewers. This is great. So we're like going on hour 3 now. I look over on Facebook. Have other people talked on Facebook? Nope. Facebook is just crickets. That's okay. It's fun over here. We're having fun over here, right, guys? Am I right? 10, 11, 12 viewers. It's a good stream. Oh, I gotta lean back a little bit. Butt's hurting. Webcam fall down, go boom. How did that happen? I don't know. There we go. I feel like I've got like a talk radio show going tonight. I'm going to keep this format for Friday nights. I'm going to run long on Friday nights and just like hold court on various things, on various topics that thrill and excite and annoy and frustrate and anger me. I'll go until I start seeing the battery light flashing. But I'm having fun. Are you guys having fun? If you're not having fun, say, hey, we're not having fun. This stream is bullshit. Oh, sorry again. But, Sama says, I think it would also help if when he had websites with wiki style. I agree. I wish somebody would step up and write a first edition AD&D wiki. I mean, how awesome would that be? I don't know. I have talked to people about it before. We had one. The only problem with an AD&D wiki that's open, that anyone can contribute to, is like I would want like an AD&D wiki that had 1E and 2E and they just stay separate, completely separate. No articles saying, for clarification, look at the 2E article, or, no 2E article saying, well, this is really the best way to do it, unlike it says over in the 1E article. No edition warning. Painting books for the Mage's Tower I built for an upcoming adventurer, listening to a fellow gamer. Yeah, this is fun. Right on, Padre. Kool-Aid says, I would love to see you take Greyhawk Hex and present it as an adventure on video. Expand on that. I'm going to come back to that. 1E Wiki, isn't that Osric? Don't make me drive over to Lake Mary. I know where you live and what your kids look like. Volcano God. How do I pronounce Oerth? Oerth. Mark Simpson is Oith. Brooke says, I'm with you, don't get me wrong. I would just start with a new system and gateway them in. See, the problem there is then, how do you gateway them in? If you've landed them with a 5e bait, they're already up on the dock, and a lot of people are going to be really reluctant to change. But if you catch them out of the chute and say, boom, here's a D&D, Oh, you need some help with it? There's contact info. I think that's a little better approach. You say tomato, I say tomato, but, and this is important, the thing is, I want you to do that. I want you to get um I want you to get out there and get a book or two into a free library, into the public library. I don't know. Anybody out there deal with public libraries? Could you just not take it to the library and donate it to the library and say, could you put this on your shelf? Take a hex on the Darlene map, blow it up. Boom! Blow it up. Have the standard adventure there. Small village ruins. You know, Kyle Schuant and I have kind of done that. I will do that. I will get Kyle back on the show at the first of the year. Kyle is on a long vacation in Australia. If you've seen Mad Max, like the first one, the good, the really the best one, in order it goes Mad Max, The Road Warrior, Thunder or Fury Road, and then Beyond Thunderdome. That's not the proper cinematic order, but that's my machete order. Anyway, going back to it. So if you've seen Mad Max, you know, Max and his wife and their kid, they go on the long trip that leads Max on his path of revenge. We should not talk about that. But I imagine Kyle's like in this weird souped up surfing minivan just driving across the rolling plains of Australia. But to the hexing, we're going to have Kyle on, and we're going to do that very thing one night. I think cool, a better one than what we did. Joseph Lucas says, oh, a local reference drop. Nice to find out you're in my neck of the woods. Yeah, Joseph Lucas. I am I'm located in the Central Florida area. Well, Brooke, you say tomato, I say tomato. I still think you should get the books out there, though. I still think you should just maybe not push it on people, but you know, remember we're not like Synanon or Scientology or you know the Sun Young Moon followers, where you know we insist people take our literature and flowers at airports or anything. Remember, we're just you know. It's like the Front 242 song had a one you lock the target. Oh, I got to be careful about singing. If I sing, it get this, the stream will get shut down. So it's like the Front 242 song where they sing the lyrics. 1, you lock the target. 2, you bait the line. 3, you slowly spread the net. And 4, you know, capture a male individual. Again, I'm trying to avoid copyright strike, guys. So that's just you know the front of my argument, the back of my argument, the top and sides of my argument. Get the PDF the PDF. If you need that, like if you're like okay, he's saying print out the print on demand OD&D copies, but the individual books, but I want to do a whole book. Once I have Volcano God send me the template for the book, for the OD&D core books he made, I cannot share the content, but I can share the formatting that you need to plug into Lulu to get those all bound together. And as soon as I have it, I will share that with you guys, and you can print out your copies and drop them off at FLGS or favorite local bookstore or free libraries or the library if they'll take it. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Check check check. Can you guys hear me? So I'm seeing I'm seeing 5 by 5. Okay. All right, so I'm back. I don't know what happened. Maybe I bumped my mic or something. This part of the mic, the pickup, the microphone itself is awesome. Every cord I've had for it is like at some point gives me problems. Ooh, or you know what? Maybe it was Facebook. Maybe me singing Front 242 at Facebook made it mute me. No, I've just got the 2, Brooke. Now I get a notification from YouTube. The stream's audio bitrate is 0 or lower than the... I'm fine, thanks. I'm fine. It's good now, YouTube. That's not a very Christian thing to pull on me tonight, Dungeon Minister. That was on YouTube's. Oh, you know what? Maybe Ty was exercising his godlike power. Oh, Bill Sylvie is trying to get me on a stream. Mute. I was silent for a minute and only lost 2 viewers. Must have a face made for video. Maybe it may be. Oh goodness. This is like the longest stream I've done without a guest in a long, long time. Man, Thaco, don't even... You Tui guys, you messed up everything with Thaco. It wasn't... You know, I get mad when I talk about 1984 and current year attitudes. I like to say, it wasn't supposed to be an instruction manual, you bastards. I feel the same way about Thaco. It wasn't supposed to be a rule, you bastards. So a little bit of news, not news, a little bit of info about Thaco. In the Dungeon Master's Guide, if you're not familiar with this, there is an alphabetical listing of monsters. It lists, and it's very handy. I'll just scroll up. This scroll wheel is not getting it. It's Appendix E, alphabetical recapitulation of monsters with experience point values. That's the handy part, the experience point values. But, and this is important, it has a column, 2-hit armor class 0. That is just a convenient means of determining what its required roll to hit armor class 0 is. Gary could have made it 2-hit armor class 2. 2-hit armor class 1. Thaco breaks down, if you're playing proper D&D, Thaco breaks down in first edition when you use repeating 20s. Well, repeating 20s are used in 1E, and that causes Thaco to break down, which is by design. You Tui guys took the football and you went playing soccer with it. It was in 1E in Appendix E, but it's not a figured thing. You don't say, well, my THAC0 is 15, therefore my THAC0, or my 2-hit AC -1 is 16. Repeating 20s knock it off the bean. So you can't go with THAC0 as a method, and I try and explain that. When I say we're going to be playing first edition AD&D, people say, oh, I can't go back to THAC0. I'm not taking you back to THAC0. I got a table. I got a chart. I don't need THAC0. I can just look at the I can just look at the chart. I can just come up here and look on page, I think it's 70. Let me try that. Nope, it's a little further down than that. Is it a little further down than that? Yeah, 74. I can look on page 74. I don't need a formula. You don't need a formula. Oh, the math doesn't make any sense. Who cares? Look at the table. I rolled a 5. I didn't hit shit. I rolled a 15. Well, if I'm a first level fighter, did I hit armor class 1? No. If I roll a 16, I still won't hit armor class 1. So no THAC0. It was the year without a THAC0 clause. But that's not true. A natural 20 is not an automatic hit. When you start dealing with multiple repeating 20s, a nat 20 is not... You know, if you're just swinging a good old steel broadsword and you roll a 20 and you're looking at the chart and you're swinging at armor class -5 and there's 4 20s preceding that 420. There's 4 20s preceding that 20. You didn't hit it. Non-linear progression. Thank you, Rob. Thank you. I am amazed that you guys are stuck with me for this long. All right, we're going to go to 3 hours. We're doing a 3-hour stream. We're going to go to 3 hours tonight. Because why not? But you have a combat computer. That's also true. You got the little Dr. Strangelove Half-Life wheel there. You can do, you know, you can do the combat computer thing. No, I'm not going to convert to ascending. I'm not gonna do that. Like I said, I got the tables. It's very simple. I don't have to do math in my head. None of that. Of note, the last time you have to deal with repeating 20s as a 9th level fighter in the fighter column. After that, any roll of a 20 will hit any armor class. Any armor class. In fact, your 2-hit armor class 10 at 11th level is 0. You can be at a penalty of -1, roll a 1, and still hit armor class 10 as an 11th level fighter. Am I going to have to start handing out bans, Volcano God? I'm just kidding you, of course. Biased as a developer turned product guy, but I always thought assuming nat 20s hit and using THAC0 is so close to the original intended results. Padre, could Dungeon Minister, can you pray for these lost souls? They have strayed from the light. Every day that passes, they turn away from the glory of Gygax. No, I'm not going to ban you. Anyway, that's enough talk about 2-hit armor class 0 and so on. I don't know. I said I was going to go to 3 hours. I'm like running out of steam a little bit. Oh, you know, that's something else you could do. I don't know. I was going to say issues of Dragon Magazine, but those are kind of spotty as far as content. Like, you know, Dragon Magazine 97. Like, is that really of any utility to anyone? Even if you got it reprinted and all staple bound and sent it out? Is that... I don't think it is. I mean, I suppose you could... Well, I was going to say you could put the... If you have the Dragon Magazine collection... That's software piracy. That gets into a weird area. So no, let's just not talk about that aspect. No, books. Just keep the books circulating. Khalid says, I plan on running the halls of Arden Vol soon. I hope I'm not crazy. Crazy now or crazy after you get done running it? I have heard of Arden Vol, but I have never, like, done anything with it. Like, I've never had the itch to run it. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think I've even ever looked at the thing. You know, speaking of looking at things in books and used bookstores, I remember back in the early 2000s when everybody and their brother in game publishing was releasing a D20 something or the other. Either a D20 compatible or an OGL compatible product. And there was a company that put out, now if you know who this is and you jump up and answer it, that's fine. But some company put out The World's Largest Dungeon, and it was like this thick. It was a hardback book. And I thought that was the most ridiculous bullshit in the world. Because honestly, if you're just going for content, it'd be like if I carried this stream on from now until 9 o'clock in the morning, how much would I really have to say? You know, I mean, eventually you guys would like start to drop off. And I'd be talking to like 2 or 3 people, and I'd be saying the same stuff I was saying back at 9:30. You know, how many fountains, but it's a water weird, are there? How many, you know, halls of the Goblin King? How many animated statues that ask a riddle, and the winner gets a platinum piece, and the loser gets like zapped from lightning from the spirits holding? How many of those can you put in a book before it becomes stale? So, World's Largest Dungeon. So I thought it was ridiculous, and it was like $40, $49, something like that. We live in an age now where FOMO is the rule of law. Artificial scarcity. A friend of mine on Facebook, an actual, like, I like this guy and we communicate together, was commenting, lamenting the fact that the Ithiliad and I, Tyrant, books about Mind Flayers and Beholders, respectively, that came out for 2E, that sat and gathered dust for years, on the shelf of a gaming store here in Orlando. Alderac did it? Okay, Awig, thank you. But, you know, these are books that, like, I thought they, on the face, they were dumb. The Ithiliad was, like, pretty fucking creepy. Was pretty flippin' creepy. Because, you know, it described in exacting body horror terms precisely what Ithilids wanted to do to you. Either, you know, your brains come out courtesy of the crazy straws that hang from their faces, or, you know, they'd fatten you up and psionic blast you time and again, and until, you know, you were a twitching wreck. And then, you know, when you thought life could not become more hideous and worse, they'd drag you off to the elder brain, scoop an Ithilid maggot out of it, and you'd watch while they dropped it in your ear or forced it up your nose. And over the course of agonizing months, it would consume your brain, and then your now just autonomic bundle of a body would begin the horrific apotheosis to becoming a mind flayer. And so in that was pretty good. But iTyrant was just ridiculous. Those books go for over $100 on eBay now. Everything is scarce and rare now. Trust me, I don't forget the tentacles. So what this has to do with the price of tea in China, or the price of D&D books in the world, is World's Largest Dungeon. Again, World's Jankiest Doorstop is what the thing should have been called. Oh yeah, no, it's out of print now, and it's many hundreds of dollars if you can find a physical copy. Like, why did I not, like, I should have just bought all of this shit, all of this garbage, all of these terrible shovelware items back in the early 2000s, because the early 2000s, it's like 20 plus years ago. I mean, I'm sure in the 1990s, when OD&D sets were starting to become, like, you know, like a wood grain set would set you back a few $100s. I'm sure there's people in the 1990s who are like, why didn't I buy an OD&D set back in 74 and it's 91 now, and you know. I think I've told you guys before, I've told you this story. Once upon a time, there was a glorious hobby and game shop here in Central Florida called Enterprise 1701. And they began life as a very small hobby and game shop. And now they're very small again, but they're called Sci-Fi City. In the .com boom, they got bought by a company called Sci-Fi City that was based up in Raleigh, North Carolina, and they were going to open a nationwide chain of Sci-Fi City stores. And they ended up being like one of three. Now they're one of two. There's like the main store and this one, and they're shrunken down very small. But when it was Enterprise 1701 and located near what was a U.S. Navy base here in Orlando at the time, it was magnificent. The store occupied many storefronts in a multi-storefront thing, but the multi-storefront thing was kind of, some of the stores were on different levels, so, you know, you'd have to step up or walk down a little flight of stairs, and each like the room where the Navy ratings would come on weekends and play Harpoon, there was just like the Harpoon and Air Superiority room. And they had anime, and they had Gundam models, and they had comic books, and they had role-playing games. They had a Battletech section, a Warhammer section. And it was fantastic. I went in there one day with my friend at the time, Matt Finch. Not Matt Finch. Although Matt Finch and I are friends. Matt Shed. His last name was Shed. S-H-E-A-D, Shed. And I had some money burning a hole in my pocket. I had probably in excess of a couple $100 in my bank account at the time. And And I was going to spend some of it, by God. I was going to get something. I ended up buying a couple of Gundam models, I think. And Matt calls me over at the counter and says, hey, check this out. You want some Dungeons and Dragons books? The very early 90s were a fallow time for my love of Dungeons and Dragons, and I laughed and said no. And I walk over to the counter. Under glass, for the princely sum of $50, sat a wood grain AD&D set. $50 in 1991. I was inches from it. If 2021 bill could go back 30 years, I would grab 1991 bill by the lapels and shake him, slap the Gundam models out of his hands, and say, spend all your money on that. And to quote Gandalf to Frodo, keep it secret, keep it safe. $50. Yes, search on ABE books. Lots of good memories at Enterprise, getting into MTG, buying my first vampire books. Yep. Rob says Enterprise was a store outside the base. Yes, it was, right on Corinne Drive. You take Corinne Drive right into the base. The base is now, first of all, that strip mall is just a bunch of little stores, and the base is now a massive housing subdivision. And I don't look forward to the number of people who are going to start reporting early deaths from cancers, and when they start looking at the spikes in people who... That was a very dirty patch of land when they closed that base and started cleaning it up. Kulitz says, I wish I could go back to 2013 and buy the reprint. Yeah, I got one of them. Actually, my group bought that for me for Christmas that year in 2013. Yeah, I got that bad boy. I'm very happy about it. Hell, in 2005, I got my OCE white box. I paid $80 for it. And they took money off because the box was damaged. They're like, oh, the corner's a little beaten up. We're sorry. We didn't notice that till... So, I paid them via check. I bought the item, I secured the item, and I mailed them, overnighted them a check. Not out of a caution or anything like that. It's just... Even as recently as 2005, there were e-commerce stores that didn't do e-commerce. You could buy the thing, but you had to pay them in a janky manner. So I remember mailing them a check. And they were like, we can mail you a check back. And I was like, it's not that bad. So, you know what? Let me see here. eBay. All right. Sixth printing, which is what I have. No, that is not what I have. Well, let's look at it. Let me go get it. You guys won't miss me if I step away. Hang on. I'm back. Did you miss me? Okay. So now I gotta fix my webcam. All right, let's look at this now. All right, so this is my AD&D set. It's got the Gygax and K logo on it. It is not TSR, but it's also not the Lizard logo. Published by Tactical Studies Rules. No, it does not have hobbits or treants listed in it. But you can see what condition the box is in. It's a little beaten up. It's traveled a little bit, but I really don't with it anymore. So let's have a gander at okay, so that one, hover to zoom. So that one does not have the Starburst. So let's see. Yeah, no Starburst logo on that one. How about this one? The point is, these, like, looking here at these, oh my God, this box looks like it was buried. And he's got a couple of supplements with it. It's not that's not the OCE that I have. Let me see. D&D White Box OCE. I mean, the loose books. Gygax and Arneson 3-volume set. Plus Arneson Gen Con autographed, $829 with Arneson's autograph. Well, I've got Gary and Dave's autographs on my loose set. I wonder what that would be worth. Yeah, I'm not. Maybe it's because the ones with the Starburst were more affordable. The 7th prints. No, here's one with an OBO. No, it says it's 6th print, but it has the special collector's edition. Is that what it says? Original collector's edition. $939. I'm not saying that guy's going to get $939 from it. But these sets haven't launched into the multi-$1,000 price yet. So these sets are not multi-$1,000 yet. If you put the thumb screws to me and you said, Bill, you gotta sell your autographed loose OD&D books with Gary and Dave and Rob Kuntz and Tim Kask and Jim Ward and everybody, all Tracy Lesh, all of their signatures on your OD&D books. If you said to me, you gotta sell those, I would sell the lot, and I would ask for $3,000, and I would regret it because I would probably get $3,000, and I know that it would go for an astronomical price, the lot. I would hate having to do that, but I know. And again, and that includes my chainmail. My chainmail is autographed by Gary. I just feel like I could ask that and get that. So I may sell this someday, though. I have my loose books with their autographs on them. This is a nice curio, but it's not, it is something special in that it is one of a dying breed of OD&D sets, but this is something they made thousands of versus the 1,500 wood grain sets. I mean, to put this in perspective, and I've shown on screen, we've talked about the catalogs, the D&D catalogs before. The D&D catalogs that are selling AD&D books, like up to and including deities and demigods, like that's how new they are in comparison to this, still list these as available from TSR. You could still buy these and the supplements from TSR at the same time they were selling AD&D. That's how many of these were made. So I would estimate that there's something probably in the many thousands of these still knocking around, maybe 2, 3, 4,000 of them. But I have no hard data on how many of those were produced. I have heard that by the end of it, it was a case, like, people tend to think in terms of print runs, that they were just boxing, like, you know, they're in the shipping department. They're like, I need a Monsters and Treasure, I need a Men in Magic, I need a Wilderness and Underworld Adventures, and I need the 3 errata sheets. And I get those. And it doesn't matter if they were from this printing, from that printing, if they ran out of this, you know, or whatever. So that you're kind of getting mixed printings by the very end with the Starburst or Fireburst logo prints from TSR, which is not to denigrate anyone who has one and loves it. That's awesome. But yeah, someday this may go when I think I can get a good price for it. And it's like gold. There's never a good time to sell it. You know, people think that inflation is spiraling out of control, and it is. We're not going to talk politics. It is. But I remember in the 70s, gold was selling for like $3,000 an ounce in the 1970s. That would be the equivalent of gold selling for like $8,000 or $10,000 an ounce today, and it ain't there yet. But imagine buying at that price. Imagine buying the peak and then watching like the economy roar in the 80s. Little dip in the late 80s. But the dip in the late 80s was really $100 and I'll identify all our magic items. Let me tell you something, Volcano God. I may have taken you up on that earlier today. Obviously, the identify the magic items, no, but I may have taken you up on that $100 offer earlier today. Yeah, imagine if you bought gold in 1979 at $3,200 an ounce, and then the economy just takes off and you just watch that price plummet. I mean, I think at the peak of the Reagan economic boom, gold was only worth about $1,100 an ounce. I mean, imagine losing $2,000+ of your investment. Even today, it's I'm starting to sound like Glenn Beck. What you can rely on is gold. Let's see. Oh, it's up there. It's 1780. But still, right? It's so nice to read Rob talking about Enterprise, Joseph Lucas remembering Enterprise. The stock market has outperformed gold for a long time. Well, that's not what Glenn Beck and Alex Jones have told me, Rusty. And if I can't trust guys who clearly only have my best interest in mind, who can I trust? A stockbroker? I'm just guys, please don't at me. Don't flood me with discussions about that sort of thing. But we are going to wrap up, guys. What a long, strange trip this live stream has been tonight. Thank you all for being here. I had kind of a not great evening. In some ways. But I got to see a couple of very good friends tonight and reconnect with some other people. And it was my one holiday outing. So I guess maybe, yeah, I actually did have a good evening in that respect. So I'm going to bid you guys good night. And I really, 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 absolutely, positively, without a doubt, I want you to strongly consider, or if you've already strongly considered, I want you to act, and I want you to get a Lulu print of a classic D&D book, put it in a local free library, take it to a favorite used bookstore, take it to an FLGS, or put it up on eBay. Just think about it. Just think about doing it. We can do it, guys. We can kill the music industry with home taping, okay? The list of people I'd like to thank tonight is too long. Everybody. Chris, Coolid, Adam Black, Samalama, Volcano God especially, Rob, Dungeon Minister, thank you for stopping by a thread, Joseph Lucas, Brooke, you too, Brooke, thank you, Mark Simpson for fueling the Oath versus Earth debate, Adam Black, did I mention Adam Black already? Everybody, thank you, everyone, and I will have a great weekend. You guys have a great weekend too. And I'll see you all Monday. All right? I'll see you all Monday evening.